Serious, what is the fastest way you have seen someone ruin their life? A high school friend drove drunk and killed the local doctor of a small town, last I heard. He was still in prison. High school student, graduated at the time, drove a classmate of mine home from prom, crashed and killed classmate. Driver becomes a paraplegic, goes to prison, gets out. Driving disability mod van, gets in another accident, and kills another woman passenger. Second one was a DUI. He was at fault for the first bit. I'm unsure if DUI. Let's hope he doesn't get out a second time. He'd mind control a school bus off a cliff. Please let this be a normal field trip. The guy who got angry playing basketball and smashed his head, leaving him paralyzed. I saw that. Of the many things I've seen, that one was one of the hardest. Broke his C6 vertebrae, I think. As an accidental C56 quad, it's hard enough ruminating on whether or not you could have avoided it. This guy knows he absolutely could have. Very sorry, I'm curious how you manage writing on Reddit and such. Are you in a hospice care situation? I used to take X-rays on people who were quadriplegics. Some have no one to care for them, and it's quite a sad situation in a care facility. Was in a car accident in your case. Thanks for your concern. I write on Reddit using either speech to text, my knuckles, which is what I'm using now, or a stylus. I live in an adapted property with a roommate, and we figure out how to get by. Although my injury is complete, it's not high for C-spine, so I can function pretty well with minimal assistance. Edit. Long story short, snowboarding fall. Tiny but high traumatic injury. Causal to neuroinflammation. Causal, we think, to transverse myelitis a few years removed from the accident which paralyzed me. Will be guess CI at C56. The construction Toamemum pipeline. I've seen the very good and competent men fall to absolute ruin in the space of 4 months. Because of this. I was going to say cocaine, but this fits the bill too. I mean, every time this question gets asked, I just know the top answers will be some variation of street drugs. And the spontaneous guy is sure to be mentioned specifically. Ho ho ho, he KNEW, he wasn't gonna be addicted, he's strong-willed man, you just wouldn't get it. Former friend of mine was arrested for soliciting an 11-yo for sexual favors online and traveling across state to meet her. I never expected him to do that. His girlfriend at the time asked if I wanted to be a character witness, and I noped out before she finished her sentence. Judge made an example out of him and sentenced him to life. Apparently it wasn't his first saw offense. I can't believe she even stuck around to even consider looking for people to testify on his behalf. I'd be a character witness. I just might not give him the glowing testimony he was hoping for. That kind of surprise testimony makes great television, but it's not how it works in real life. The witnesses are summoned before to give depositions where you are sworn in with both lawyers and the court reporter, and you do your testimony. Ideally, no lawyer is ever surprised in a courtroom. That's because no lawyer should ask a question they don't know the answer to already. Depositions is part of how they know that answer, but if you suddenly flip on a dime, they'll ask to treat you as a hostile witness and start going down the witness is committing perjury route because they know your answers, and they know if it changed you've lied under oath, either then or now. My girlfriend is a lawyer, and she explained it the same way, and sometimes is chomping at the bit to treat a witness as hostile because she takes that shit personal. We're gonna have a kid to save the marriage. I remember in Gone Girl the wife says, let's not be that couple who has a kid to save the marriage. I'd never even thought about it like that. Savage. She got a bit more creative with her marriage-saving techniques. While she was thinking out of the box. My sister started doing meth and heroin. She went from super smart to completely dumb. By the age of 19, she was already a felon. No one in the family wants to help her anymore cause each time we tried. Either sending her to rehab or tried getting her sober, she would just go back to it. Was supposed to go to college, but now she's 22 and stays at different people's houses and begs people for money. Completely cut me and everyone else off from her cause. She thinks us trying to help her is us being jealous and not wanting her to be happy in life. It's a rough life. My brother went through the same cycle. We lost him to an overdose last October. He would have been 35 the next month. The worst part is the feeling of relief and the guilt that comes with it. It's a really place to be in. Watched a buddy spend his entire life savings betting on the Paulo Costa versus Adesanya. I begged him not to do it, and he lost his and his wife's entire $60K nest egg. She left him immediately with the kids, and now he lives at his mom's house. Holy shit, he bet on Costa. That somehow makes it even worse. Always easy to say in retrospective, but Costa looked like a world beater back then. Was undefeated and just beat Romero in a war. Also was clearly in Izzy's head with the trash talk. That being said, these aren't factors you should consider losing all your life savings on LOL. Even at the time, smart money was on Izzy though. He thrives against pressure fighters. Arrive at work on their first day as a temp at around 10 a.m. Caught stealing the boss's wallet at 12:30, taken away by police at 1 p.m. Obviously, I'm overthinking this, but boy, it sure seems it would be easier pickpocketing strangers in a crowd. It was out of a jacket left in an office. My father-in-law is 65, was married to his wife for 37 years and has 3 daughters. The picture-perfect family from the outside looking in. He was well respected in his career field and was also an interim pastor deacon at our local church. After he retired, his health started to deteriorate drastically and he started drinking. This past November, we learned that he had fell for a love scam on Facebook and had spent his entire life savings, took out a second mortgage on his home, and opened up numerous credit cards to send this fake person money. All in all, he sent them roughly $300,000. He was truly convinced she was going to move here from overseas and they were going to ride off into the sunset, leave everything behind, and live happily ever after. Now he is divorced, lives in a crummy apartment about 45 minutes from his family, and is miserable. He can barely walk and has essentially zero control over his bowel movements. To make matters worse, he has very narcissistic tendencies and thinks that none of it is his fault, and instead blames his ex-wife, claiming that she didn't love him and show him any affection. As you can imagine, this has affected my wife, her sisters, and mother immensely, and caused all sorts of problems and stress over the last 8 months. But long story short, he lost everything: his assets, his family, his health, and happiness. I would be shocked if he's even alive a year from now. Seems like a complete personality switch. Was he always narcissistic? If yes, then how come the family only noticed it after 37 years of marital bliss and picture-perfect family harmony? If no, then could it be something else like the onset of dementia? He might have had Parkinson's and been prescribed cabergoline or some other prodopamine drug that can cause you to have complete personality shift toward all of the pleasurable but addictive sides of life like sex, gambling, drugs. A guy in Europe won a lawsuit in the 90s when a court found that evidence suggested the drug or a similar one really did make an otherwise straight man a gay sex fiend. One of my primary school teachers was found not guilty of possessing child porn after claiming that the drugs he took for Parkinson's gave him the urge to search it out. How weird they won that. But yet dopamine agonists can cause impulsive behaviors, especially in the elderly, usually seen as increase in gambling. Crime, specifically felonies. My lawyer took out a loan forging my signature. He's doing 15 years in federal prison. I would have given him the $5,000. His kid was very sick and I would have gladly helped him out. Well, that sucks. It does. His beautiful child had a brain tumor and I would have given him my settlement. Such a shame and a waste. I testified against him in court, but there were no hard feelings. I understood what he was doing, but he did it the wrong way and broke the law and my trust. I watched this clip on Reddit where these two kids were posing with a gun. The girl in the video accidentally shot the boy in the head. She panicked and shot herself. That shit changed me. It all happened so fast. I don't think the clip was longer than 30 seconds. Oh my god, that sounds freaking awful. Poor kids. In Germany, there was a contestant on the show Wetten das, translated as Bet That, a few years ago. In the show, statements about crazy talents and activities were presented by the participants. The contestants bet on things they could do and get a prize if they could actually perform the self-proclaimed taskstillance. One participant bet that he would be able to jump over moving cars. It went wrong and he was left a paraplegic. He has since largely recovered and is handling it great as far as the public is concerned. But the situation will probably always stick in my mind. Oh, and clearly heroin. The shortcut to ruining your own life as quickly as possible. Oh yeah, Samuel Coke. In fact, maybe the way the show was organized had something to do with it as well. He had always practiced these jumps without a helmet on that day. They made him wear a helmet. I keep wondering whether that were just the 2 centimeters that made the difference. Oh wow, was it a big-ass motorcycle helmet or just like a skateboard helmet? Either way, I could definitely see that affecting the jump, but also at the same time, he probably should have been practicing with the helmet to begin with. Rough go? At least he was wearing the helmet when hit, or he could be dead. Have a friend who had a drinking problem and got into an argument with a gas station worker while drunk. The worker tried stopping his car by standing in front of it, and my friend ran him over and killed him. Wife, career, freedom, everything lost. Honorable mention, the gas station worker. There's no gas station job worth putting yourself in front of a moving bicycle, let alone a car driven by a drunk. There's no gas station job worth putting yourself in front of a standing customer, let alone anything more. Knew a guy in the military that had 18 years in and was doing online classes to get his MBA. He was in his final semester of getting his MBA and 2 years away from a military retirement. Then he traveled 1,500 miles across the country to try hook up with a 15-year-old girl. Spent 12 years in prison. Was kicked out of the military and his college he was attending. I'm not entirely sure if he could pick up where he left off to get his MBA at the same college or a different one. But that's probably useless for him anyways now since he's a convicted felon. I don't think having an MBA is going to make employers overlook your felony for trying to have sex with a minor. His only option now is to go into politics. A veteran and a groomer, he checks all the boxes. My daughter's boyfriend, July 4th, 2023, hopped in his car blackout drunk to come see my daughter. DUI and hit and run. He is just about to begin a painful, life-altering process. I can't imagine you're feeling particularly supportive of a drunk driver taking your daughter out. I went on a date with someone who shortly after hooked up with shithead. This guy is loudly racist, sexist, homophobic, picked his nose at dinner with his GF's mother, proceeded to drink several pints and whiskey chasers. Then drunk drove his pregnant partner home, *, on a motorbike, *, but not before having a screaming row with her mom about getting on the bike with her daughter. She didn't even know her daughter was preggers. They have 2 kids now. Shithead apparently refers to his little boy as that C word. I do not know why she's still with him. Nun does. 15-20 years ago, an ex worked at a dream job type of place. If you make it professionally in that field, this employer was the absolute peak. There is no better place to go. New guy started there, on X's team, right out of university. His first day he went to the company store and got all the gear with company's name on it, shirt, hat, socks, etc., and proudly put it all on. After work, team took the new guy out to drinks to celebrate his first day at dream job employer. New guy gets weighted drunk, goes outside to smoke a cig, and then takes his penis out and presses it up against the bar's glass window. Penis man's new colleagues, all the bar's patrons, and all their staff see his dick. X closed out their tab and got drunk guy home. The bar calls the employer the next morning, complaining about the new guy's dick antics, banning him and anyone wearing company gear. New guy was fired before lunch. On day 2, a cautionary story. People who get plastered with co-workers they are not extremely familiar with are a different breed. I think most of us regular folk are hesitant to overshare even what we did over the weekend, let alone expose our intoxicated selves to people who can make or break our careers. This was clearly I'm 22 and a complete idiot decision-making. Adults who are not morons know that getting actually wasted at a business event is a recipe for disaster. The trick is to sip and act like you're getting wasted so people feel comfortable. It's best if they get wasted around you but never lose control.